Okay, well, it's time to install the headers. In the 47 years I've been in the classic car hobby, of course, they weren't classic cars when I first got into it. They were fresh used cars. But over the past 47 years, I've probably installed at least 20 sets of headers. Virtually every classic performance car I've ever owned, I've installed headers on. Now, these headers are Hooker Super Competition headers. Now, in my formula, I installed Hooker Competition headers. Now, the biggest difference is, well, not only tube size, but ease of installation and fitment is more of a priority with the competition headers, whereas the Super Competition headers, these are equal length tubes. So all of the primary tubes are very close to the same length. And you can see how the tubes twist and bend, and they do what they can to make the tubes equal length. Now, one thing about super competition headers is they make more power, but they're also more difficult to install. One thing you want to note on the flange is when you see this, you have a hole and a slot, and both sets have a hole in the slot. That's where you want to start, because this bolt is going to be almost impossible to install from the other side. So you're going to want to start this bolt first, and you'll have to have the header slid forward. Start the bolt, run it in a little bit, and then you can slide the header back. And it's going to be the same on both sides. So that's going to be a challenge. Also, on this right side header, I have to lift the engine up at least an inch, probably closer to 2 inches to get the tubes in. And again, super competition headers, performance is the priority, and fitment takes a back seat. So they're more challenging to install. They are higher performing header. These are the round port headers. I have the Edelbrock round port Ram Air 4 style heads. So this is a good match to the heads, and it's a good match for the engine combination. They're just a little more challenging to install. Using Mr. Gasket Ultra Seal gaskets. And I've used these many times in the past, and they seal up pretty good. They don't blow out. You can see they're reinforced, so they should work just fine. All right, I'm getting everything ready. So I gotta take these transmission cross member bolts out because I'm gonna have to tip the engine up, and I don't want those limiting the travel. I don't want to put any binding on it either. So, and I move the jacking tray up, so I'm gonna have to put a jack underneath the oil pan and lift that up. So just getting everything ready. Once I get these bolts out, get the engine lifted up, then I can try to slip the header up in place. All right, try to get the engine lifted up. I'm gonna keep as much room in this area as I can. Alright, I have it lifted about 2 inches. So hopefully that's going to be enough. Alright, let's see what we got. I got them slid up into place. Now I need to try to find a way to secure them so I can lower the engine back down. So I'll work on that. Alright, I got the header held up with a couple tie wraps. I got them looped over the cooler lines. Hopefully that won't be a problem. Alright, getting ready to do the left side. And it'll have its own complications with the steering column and that. So, but the main thing is just get it up in place. And like I did on the right side, if I can hook this first bolt in and hang it from that, and then it'll go a lot easier from there. So that's going to be my goal. Just like the right side, put the gasket in place, put that one bolt in place, and then see if I can do that. All right, well, got the right side in, and now get ready to install the left side. Like the right side, what I'm going to want to do is try to suspend the collector and then go up top and try to guide it into place. So I'm going to get me some tie wraps. Alright, well, I got the collector held up with some tie wraps. So I'm going to go up on top now and see if I can get a couple bolts started. I know there's a lot of background noise with the fan. It's in the mid-90s now during the day, and so I'm working out on the car out in the garage at night. And you know, it's almost 10 o'clock, still 80 degrees. But you know, need the fan to put some cool air in the garage. All right, you can see the right side headers in. Yeah, I got everything bolted up. I still need to put the oil filter adapter in. And when I get underneath, get the starter, the transmission converter dust cover, get all that stuff in, and then I'll install the oil filter adapter. And I also have the left side header in. And I installed the left front brake line as well. I got that all set up. And they look pretty good. You know, cleaned them up. Don't look too bad. I'm getting the oil filter adapter prepped. And you know, I have the old gasket scraped off. And I'll squirt it down with some brake cleaner to clean it up. Still have to clean up the sender, it's pretty grimy. I do have the two fittings cleaned up. Got a brass fitting and a steel fitting that I'll use. I'll go ahead and reuse those. I thought for a few minutes maybe I'll run to the hardware store and get some new ones, but I'm just going to reuse these. So, you know, I'm going to take some brake cleaner to this, get it cleaned up. Then I'll tape it off, and I'm going to go ahead and paint it. I have some Pontiac blue engine paint, and I'll paint it. And this, you know, I'll just give this a good cleaning and use it. I have the oil filter adapter painted, and I'll let that dry for a few minutes, and I'll pull the tape off. Now I'll let it dry overnight before installing it. Then I'll put the pressure sender on and get all that set up and ready to go, so I just bolt it in. Alright, oil filter adapter is ready to go. Have the sender on. I'm going to reuse the Allen head bolts that it was put on with when I took it off. I have a new gasket, and of course the Allen wrenches to install it. Well, the starter's ready to go. I gave it a wipe down and clean it up a little bit. And I'll reuse the mounting bolts. And this is the starter that was in the car when I bought it. And it's a Power Master Torque mini starter, so that's perfect. I'm also going to use a 1/32 shim. Now when I took the starter out, it had this shim in there. And this is a 22 thousandths shim. This shim is 30 thousandths. But that's the closest thing I have. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. I've got blue from painting the oil filter adapter. One of these days I'll learn how to use gloves. But the starter's ready to go. And I'll be getting that put in pretty soon. Alright, well, let's see if I can get the starter in. I hurt my shoulder a couple months ago. And it's still bothering me. So that might be a challenge for me. We'll see. It's a long way up there. All right, I got a few threads in there. Gotta get my shim aligned. All right, got the starter in. And that is a job that's good to have done. And you can see I have plenty of clearance between the headers and the starter and the cables and the headers. So good to go there. And I need to get the dust cover cleaned up and reinstalled. I'll be doing that soon. The starter's in. That's a good to have done. And move on to the next thing. All right, well, I got the headers in. and all the other parts are back in. See, I have the dust cover on, starters installed, the oil filter adapter in, got a new oil filter on there. And you know, everything looks pretty good. I got some handprints on the headers. Hopefully that doesn't matter after they fire up and get hot. So I'll run up on the top and show you what it looks like up top. And you can see the headers coming down here. Light's not the best up here. We'll run over to the other side. You know, just something about a nice set of headers. They just look badass. And these super competitions, they're pretty cool. So they twist and turn and do all that sort of thing. You know, I got my first car. I just turned 18, and I bought the car but hadn't taken delivery of it yet. And before I even got the car home, I ran up to the nearest speed shop, which was 70 miles away. I bought a set of headers for the car. So my first car, before I even had it in the driveway, I had a set of headers for it. And, you know, the pipes on this side look pretty good. This brake line will move a little bit when I when I install the front brakes. It'll move and I'll have clearance. Yeah, you can see the oil filter adapter. And headers look pretty good. And all the brake lines have been bent for clearance. They all have plenty of clearance. So I'm not going to have any brake lines laying up against header tubes. All right, the headers are in, starter's in, oil filter adapter's in, the torque converter dust cover's in, and now I think we can move on to the next thing.